Thank you very much. Years and years ago, America sang, "In the desert, you can remember your name." And both of these teams, and Sparky too, are trying to remember who they are. USC and Arizona State in a bunched-up Pac-12, trying to bounce back from losses midweek. As the guys were talking about, Arizona State still in second place after opening 4-0. Oregon just took a loss in Boulder, so they are gettable right now at the top. And USC at 2-5. Jason Benetti, Casey Jacobson in the dark. And we are kind of in the dark about what the middle of the Pac-12 is. What are both of these teams right now?
Yeah, they're still in the mix. At least ASU is. For USC, yes, they are playing shorthanded without their two leading scorers. But Jason, this Trojan team still has enough talent. We're going to see Bronny James running the point. Can he handle Arizona State's defensive pressure? And for ASU to still be tied for second after an emotional loss to the UCLA Bruins, that's the good news. Protect your home court, and you can stay up top the standings.
I missed everything you said. Sparky's mustache was hanging around. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I expected it.
You want to see the starting lineup?
I do.
All right, let's do that. We're going to start with Arizona State. Frankie Collins has been a menace defensively, the transfer from Michigan. And you see the shape-shifting USC lineup. Bronny James in the middle of it. We'll see what the crowd reaction is like for him today. But yeah, they're down two guards that are massive scorers and also creative players offensively.
Yeah, Isaiah Collier and Boogie Ellis, Jason, I would categorize as not only the most talented point guard, shooting guard duo in the Pac-12, I would go a step further in the country. So USC, they are losing 34 points per game that you would normally get. Not only that, but how about the creativity of these guys to create a shot at a moment's notice. So guys like Kobe Johnson, they're going to have their opportunity. Let's see what they can do with it.
You know, Arizona, highly ranked, beat USC the other day, but the Pac-12 tournament in a couple of months is going to be a total free-for-all, and these two teams are hoping to make a run there. As you get an early deflection, it is out of bounds off Iwachukwu, and it's Arizona State basketball.
Jason, the biggest key for USC is dealing with Arizona State's defensive pressure. The Trojans had 19 turnovers on Wednesday night in Tucson. Kobe Johnson and Bronny James combined together for 9 of those turnovers. And on the first possession, Andy Infosquad throws the ball out of bounds.
That was back tap theater the other night in Tucson. A lot of trouble handling the basketball, as here is Jemiah Neal, the junior, who plays about 32 minutes a game, and that's well short off the hand of the transfer, Jose Perez. Long lead feed and a second Trojan turnover in 28 seconds.
My goodness. Not great, but at least this is a dead ball turnover, as this pass just sails right over the head of DJ Rodman. A good idea, bad execution, but we're seeing the defensive pressure now, and we're seeing a lot of zone from USC, and their zone has not been very good, Jason. Teams are shooting 48% against the Trojans in zone, but they're shorthanded. They almost don't have a choice.
And Arizona State is 268th in three-point shooting in the country at 31.5%. You see the opening miss there. There's Bronny James, you can tell, because they are booing him, as they did all night in Tucson. This is out of bounds, deflected by Collins, who just hounds people defensively.
It's what he does. It's the strength of his game.
You see Andy Enfield, his 11th season. They have been a stalwart in the NCAA tournament, but they're going to have to work to get there this year at 8-10 to open the season.
They've been to the NCAA tournament the last 3 years in a row. That streak is very much in jeopardy right now.
Open look for three, and that goes down. The first look from three for the Trojans and Kobe Johnson.
It's important that Kobe Johnson play well today. Obviously, that he's feeling a little bit more pressure without Boogie Ellis and without Isaiah Collier. The last 3 games, Kobe Johnson just 10 points per game on 29% shooting. If he thinks of himself as a star, he's got to play like a star on the road.
Consistency, right? That's a big key for him. 3 for Perez is a splashdown.
And he's been pretty consistent, by the way. Jose Perez for ASU. This is not a very good and potent half-court offensive team, but Perez can knock down threes if you give him space.
So can DJ Rodman. That's his 22nd of the year, so both teams canning threes.
They're falling back in this 2-3 zone and trying to get ASU to just stand around.
It's Jemiah Neal. You like the attack from the foul line, right?
Well, everybody knows that in the 2-3 zone, the softest spot is right in the middle, but you've got to be able to put a playmaker in there.
This is Oziah Sellers for 2. So there's an opening for some guys if USC can find some scoring with Ellis and Collier out.
Yeah, Sellers is one of those guys who can really score it, and only averages 5 shots a game on the season, but he's been averaging 12 shots a game since those other guys have been out.
He had early foul trouble Wednesday night in Tucson. Another 3 for Arizona State, and this is Alonzo Gaffney, who Bobby Hurley says, I'll let him shoot because he can draw that 5 out.
Yeah, it's hard to guard a guy like Alonzo Gaffney at the 5 position that can step out.
Johnson misses. Rebound, Arizona State on the run. Perez, tough pass to the corner. Got it there for Miller.
And Miller's the guy that'll hunt the 3-point line. He's not necessarily running the break for layups. He wants catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, flare to the corner. He's one of those guys that got eligible because of that injunction on the 2-time transfer rule back in December. Johnson threw it right to Frankie Collins. Live ball turnover. Neal finishes. That's a pick 6 right there.
This Arizona State defense is what usually creates their best offensive performances. I mentioned they struggle in the half court, but Frankie Collins, number 1, who's hounding the ball right now, he is one of the best perimeter defensive players that you will see. In fact, Jason, we have 2 of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Kobe Johnson for USC, Frankie Collins for ASU.
Casey, interesting on that foul there. Neal put his hands up in the air briefly and then stopped.
And why is that? Because Bobby Hurley, after the UCLA game in which the ASU players had 4 technical fouls in the second half, and that was the difference in that game, he talked with them after that game and said, guys, enough is enough. For the rest of the season, starting today against the Trojans, you get a foul called on you and you don't like it, be quiet. Let me deal with the refs.
You could see in his reaction as Johnson scores that change that Hurley was looking for in Neal's response to that. It was like, oh wait, oh no, I'm not supposed to do that anymore.
And if they did that against UCLA, ASU would have won that game. They were up 11 points with 11.5 minutes to go in the second half at home, and that lead is squandered mostly because ASU lost their cool.
Perez had it deflected, intercepted by Kobe Johnson.
That's got to be a bounce pass, Jason. The hands are out on the side. It's got to be a bounce pass underneath the defense.
This is turnover theater right here to the corner. Not great spacing. It doesn't matter. Neal buries the jumper.
There's so much less pressure on Arizona State's 3-point shots when they're coming off of turnovers. More space, less pressure. So far, the Sun Devils are feeling good offensively.
They do turn you over 14 times a game. There's a drive for Sellers that's out of bounds, and this is going to be USC basketball when we come back. Some shot making early.
A fun start. Defensive energy is high on both sides, and we're making threes. You know how excited I get about that. Stay here in Tempe. It should be a good one.
I think Bobby Hurley was totally serious with that last statement. If I'm just reading the room here, 7 technical fouls though the last 2 games. What do you make of this, Casey?
I have never seen anything like this in back-to-back games. And look, the games with 3+ technicals in the previous 27 seasons for ASU, it's never happened. And our data, that's as far as our data goes back. It's possible that it's never happened in program history, but we can't say that with a surety. Obviously, Bobby Hurley not happy with the officiating. And on both of those games, the head official was Tony Padilla. And you can read what you want into that, but I think Tony Padilla is one of the best officials on the West Coast. He has refereed multiple Final Fours. To me, it was on the ASU players, Jason, in that second half against UCLA specifically, to adjust as a shot clock violation for the USC Trojans. ASU did not adjust to how that game was being officiated, and they paid the price for it.
So you end up with a team in Arizona State that could have been 5-1 in the Pac-12. We'll see how that game affects their seeding. But also, as you know, long season, if you can respond to it in such a way where you are better because of it,
sure,
people will at some point forget about it, as Frankie Collins misses there.
And, you know, I think as a player, they are equipped because their best player and their leader is Frankie Collins, their point guard. And if you watch that UCLA game, he was the one that was trying to be the peacemaker.
Iwachukwu for 2 for USC. And Frankie Collins after the game said, I was trying to make sure that these guys keep their heads, and it just didn't happen. A shot fake, and that won't fall down for Kamari Lands.
ASU's getting that ball right where they want it at the foul line. It's just a matter of them making plays and being successful from there.
Second chance is good, right on the doorstep for 2 more, and Iwuchukwu and USC up by 3.
Interesting about Vincent Iwuchukwu. Last year at Tempe, 12 points, his second highest scoring game of his freshman season. I don't know what it is about this hot air here in the desert, but Vincent Iwuchukwu turns into a first-round NBA draft pick when he walks in these doors.
Miller might finish there, but yeah, Iwuchukwu looking really good so far.
There's a lot to like. Physically, he lacks for nothing. He still just needs to kind of polish his post game. You could tell, 7 foot tall. He's got really good feel, touch around the basket, and right now he's causing havoc for ASU. Neither one of these teams, Jason, are very good rebounding. They're 2 of the worst rebounding teams in the Pac-12, so keep an eye on who dominates down low and close to the rim.
Arizona State, the worst Power 5 rebounding margin. But on Iwuchukwu, he was a soccer player growing up. He was born in Germany, came over to the U.S. His Sellers takes a long 2. That won't go, and the rebound was trying to be rescued, but Lands couldn't do it. USC is going to keep it.
It seems like a lot of big players who come from other countries, they always start with soccer. And that's the great prerequisite sport because it teaches you footwork and agility. You got to move side to side. You got to be really quick with your feet. And then the basketball kind of comes a little later because you got to use your hands and your touch around the rim for that.
And frankly, a lot of guys outgrow soccer because they just are too big to be able to navigate it, as Arinton Page can't finish.
But do you ever wonder why certain guys don't become soccer goalies? Like,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you outgrow the sport, but why can't they move Vincent Iwuchukwu and he protect the cage?
Use the wingspan, you say.
Yeah, like who's going to score on that guy?
Why don't you become a soccer coach? You could be like Jurgen Klinsmann, right, in the future. That's a tough pass to handle. Taken in by Rodman, who skids into the lane. Nice find. Kobe Johnson to finish.
I'm a big fan of Kobe Johnson, who is one of the better versatile defensive players. He's still growing his offensive game. But what you saw just there is one of the things that he does instinctually. He's a great and timely cutter to the rim. Just has a good feel for it.
Neal scores. That was 4 straight empty possessions for Arizona State. Neal has 7.
I wish Jemiah Neal would do more of that, driving to his right hand. He prefers that strong right hand rather than shooting threes. He's shot 77 threes this year. Too many.
Out of bounds, Arizona State basketball. The question is, how good of a shooting team is Arizona State?
Well, when they stop dribbling it 3 times before they shoot it, they actually are pretty dang good catch and shoot. But Jemiah Neal, that's his strength, driving. I mentioned the 77 3-point attempts from Neal. He's shooting just 27% of those, right? So to me, it kind of, numbers don't lie. We're more than halfway through the season. If you're really shooting above 30-35%, you should be shooting a great number of threes. Play to your strengths.
And they have Adam Miller as a 36% 3-point shooter, which is pretty good. Frankie Collins makes 1 out of every 3 as USC shows that zone defense.
They're in man-to-man now, so as soon as it went underneath the foul line extended, Jason, they went to man-to-man.
And it's a 1-point game now as Perez has 5.
ASU does not have a traditional post-up. Well, here's Frank
Collins just crowbarred it away and stuffed it home. Six in a row in a hurry. And he creates a charge, too. All Frankie Collins right now.
Well, this ASU team wouldn't be where they are, 4-2 in the conference without Frankie Collins. And he is one of the best, top 5 in the country in steals per game. And USC's backcourt, you cannot mess around when number 1 is in your area.
Instant replay sponsored by Continental Tire, the smart choice in tires.
More than any team in the Pac-12, Arizona State's offense is connected to their defense. They don't want this to be a half-court, slow-paced game against this specific opponent at USC. And Arizona State, 7 points off 7 Trojan turnovers. And Andy Anfield's got a lot to talk about, but number one is making solid passes. As you look, Arizona State, 22% of their team's total points on the season come from turnovers. That's the highest that you will see in the country.
Our friends at KenPom have steal percentage as one of their stats. Frankie Collins, top 10 in the nation in steal percentage, creating those points, and he is the man in charge of the offense here with a wild pass, somehow run down by Salabange. Braylon Green now with 12 to shoot.
Braylon Green doesn't get a lot of minutes, but Bobby Hurley said he needs fresh bodies if they're going to press for 40 minutes today, which they very well might. And Bobby's like, we need to have everybody ready to go. And so you might see Frankie Collins. I think maybe everybody but Frankie Collins will take a seat on the bench at some point in this first half.
This is one of those games, and we saw it with Arizona the other night, considering USC's relative lack of depth. Arizona State does not typically go super deep in terms of bench minutes. They're in the bottom third in the country in bench minutes. But to your point, you play to your opposition a little bit.
Exactly. You got an opponent that is wounded, and instead of backing off, you got to go after it. And full pedal to the metal.
See, Joshua Morgan has checked in. He was out a couple of games ago with an upper respiratory illness. Late shot clock again. Bronny James on the drive, finding his shot, and he cashes in.
His jumper is sound. When he is open, I expect it to go in every time. He had a really nice performance against Arizona. In the second half, though, they kind of tightened the screws on Bronny James. He's not very big, but if he has space, he's a good jump shooter.
He's coming off that career-high 30 minutes. Johnson went for the steal. Perez gets a floater out of it. Jose Perez by way of Gardner-Webb to Marquette to Manhattan to Arizona State, and then West Virginia in between. Wow. There's a cash in again for Bronny James. He has 5 in a row for USC.
And that three is important for Bronny because he has 1 for his last 15 from the three-point arc. He does not have a rhythm from there.
Perez spun it off the rim. Salabange's follow right on the welcome mat, wouldn't go. Arizona State will get it back. Here's Bronny James in that jumper case.
Yeah, just look at it. It's sound, and they're trying to force him baseline. He rejects it right into that quick release, mid-range two-pointer, and then here's the three. Once he sees that first one go down, Jason, this one is a lot like the radius of the rim just expands after you make your first jumper on the road.
Oh, Salabange had it blocked away. Nicely done by Morgan. And he runs the floor for the slam. Joshua Morgan, a tremendous 94 feet.
And we're not even sure if Joshua Morgan's fully healthy. He's been dealing not with an injury, but more of an illness. He's lost 15 pounds over the last week and a half, but that was quite a defensive and offensive transition possession for him.
USC by 4. Here's Collins going to the dribble. He wants the shot the whole way.
Nice.
Quick touch pass to the corner, and Neal missed it by a wide margin. And we have a whistle and a foul, a rare foul. Gaffney called for that one.
Joshua Morgan, they need his production, and what he does is this. He's one of the better shot blockers that you will see in the Pac-12. He doesn't score a lot, but he is a good rim-to-rim runner. They'll also put him in pick and roll. He's pretty good at catching. They are not going to run any post-up opportunities for him. It's not really what he does. He's from Sacramento to Sheldon High School, and I looked up his high school stats, Jason. That's how much of a nerd I am. And he didn't even average double figures in high school. He's not a scorer. He's a defender.
But he did average 4 blocks a game as a senior. Can you imagine being a freshman in high school? You know, you're playing up on the varsity and you're running to that guy down low. Another miss right at the rim, but the follow is good, and the Trojans and Kajani Wright have taken a 6-point lead.
You look at Kajani Wright's shoulders and back, and you're like, man, good luck trying to block that guy out. That's what he's got to do. Crash the offensive glass every possession.
Wes Price 6'9", 235, and Perez creates a foul that time.
Kobe Johnson would like to have this one back. It still works out, but that's a bunny right at the rim, and luckily his teammate does not assume that the layup is going to go in.
So now you have Perez going to the free throw line, and he's an interesting character in that way. He's top 20 in the nation in free throw rate, so he gets to the line a lot, but he only shoots 67%, and that has been one of the issues for Arizona State this year. They're 346th in the country out of 362 from the foul line.
Which is surprising when I tell you that they're one of the best in like 1 or 2 possession games, despite the fact that they are not overall as a team together a good free throw shooting team. It hasn't bitten them that many times.
And they play a ton of close games. The last 4 years, they've played the most games in the country decided by 3 points or fewer. Sellers got it to the corner, and Rodman for 2.
How easy was that? Under control. That's what Andy Enfield's preaching to all of his guys. It's Frankie Collins with a nice inside out to his left. And both these teams, when you play defensive pressure, both these teams really want to turn you over. You have to play off 2 feet when you get close to the rim.
Kobe Johnson wanted that step back there. Sellers got by Collins and scores.
Do you see how Joshua Morgan got it in the post, and who was guarding him? Their guard, Adam Miller. And Joshua Morgan, I'm actually proud of him. Instead of doing like something that he's not used to doing, he passes it out. A nice inside-outside possession for USC. And then he's playing to his strengths. Joshua Morgan right now.
Yeah, the whole possession was him as Neal had that fade on him. Selabonge reaches over the top, and Miller wanted a 3 from Scottsdale. Neal won't take it. Collins will. No, sir. Good defensive possession for the Trojans.
Yeah, everybody closed down with hands high. And why does that matter? Well, as a shooter, I've already made up my mind before the ball is coming to me, whether or not it's going to go up or not, as Kajani Wright is making his impact felt in the post. So how about the production of the front line for Andy Enfield's squad? We've seen Joshua Morgan do his thing. Kajani Wright, Vincent Iwuchukwu is getting ready to check back in. The strength, surprisingly, for USC offensively has been their interior.
And that's going to be a whistle, and I think we have a foul. Collins got hit, and it is a foul on the floor. USC has made 7 of their last 8 from the floors. Back here in Tempe, 31-23 USC, and stop me if you've heard this one before. Team with high expectations has to find itself in January. The top 3 recruiting class, everybody heard so much about. They're number 16 as of week 2, but they run into number 1, injury issues, number 2, a tough schedule, and they open 8-10. But when you have a rotation typically in college basketball, I'm not trying to make excuses, but like you get 10 guys, you lose 2 of your best players, or 3 depending on the game, it's going to be tougher on you.
Yeah, Jason, there's a big difference between excuses and reasons. And excuses, we came out flat, we didn't have the energy, and that's why we're losing games. A reason is we've been decimated from an injury standpoint. 37 games. I mean, Bronny, of course, he went into cardiac arrest in the offseason, so he missed the first 7 games. Isaiah Collier has now missed his 3rd game. Boogie's missing his 3rd or 4th game right now. These are your best and most talented players. I know of no coach and no program in America that could go through what the roster turnover and injury bug has been for USC and be successful.
Miller couldn't extract himself from Sellers, and they will get Sellers with the foul. Gregory Nixon has the call. Yeah, so if you're Andy Enfield, where are your answers as you wait to get these guys back?
It's got to be on defense, right? So they lack shot creators. Bronny James is not a natural point guard. He's doing his best. They have to be excellent on the defensive end, whether they're man-to-man. It's a bad foul against Adam Miller.
That's the prototypical bailout foul that's on Bronny James.
So, Jason, you got to play to your strengths, right? So their strength is no longer in the backcourt. Their strength has to be defense. And Andy Enfield has built a brand. Look at these numbers. These are not normal USC numbers. They are bottom in every category except the very bottom, the turnover percentage. But they're up against an Arizona State team who's 2nd in turnover percentage in the Pac-12. So they kind of have the both strengths in this game. It's hard.
Well, we saw, Arizona State on the other side. They have a big lead in the UCLA game. They give it away. USC, as you saw, playing shorthanded. You've seen Boogie Ellis over on the sideline, again out, as you mentioned. Collier not here, as Miller goes 2 for 2 at the free throw line. He is their best free throw shooter. He's only missed 4 times all season.
Arizona State wants to get to the foul line. That's an obvious statement. Why? Because they can score while the clock is stopped, and then they can set up their pressure, which has really bothered USC all game. So the free throw line should be a priority for the Sun Devils.
This is turnover number 8 for USC. Salabonge misses at the rim, and he will go to the free throw line.
Oh, I'm not sure that was a foul. Watch, he lost this ball. Okay, Salabonge, he's going to lose this ball before Iwuchukwu. Oh, I mean, I don't know. Salabonge grabs the net there. That looked more like it was. That ball was already slipping out of his hands. I think that's a missed call there.
You think?
I do. I mean, there was a little bit of contact, but he had already lost the ball before Iwuchukwu even attempted to block it.
And the USC fans will say, but Casey, he did kind of get him in the shoulder ear area.
The USC fans or the ASU fans?
Oh, I'm sorry. I flipped it.
Okay.
Yeah, the team colors are so similar.
They are the exact same colors.
I'll get through it.
I'm here with you, man. Yeah, of course, ASU fans who are watching this right now are throwing stuff at their TV. I get it. I'm only calling what I'm seeing. He was losing that ball before Iwuchukwu even got there.
I guess I was playing Sun Devil's advocate.
Oh,
there. I like that. What a nice recovery by the play-by-play announcer there, writing on Twitter. And it's taken away, fleeced by Collins, behind the back, Miller, and he's fouled by James. Second foul on Bronny James. But man, the hands of Frankie Collins can do damage.
Bronny James has played basketball at a high level. He's played against all the best high school players, but he has yet to play against a thief like Frankie Collins. And you got to be lower than Frankie. You got to have your head on a swivel. And he timed that from Bronny James. And then also with the stylish pass to Adam Miller, who again is going to the foul line. You mentioned their best foul shooter. And Frankie Collins has been a star.
He's got 4 steals in 14.5 minutes.
And 4 assists.
That's how to affect a game for Frankie Collins, who was a 4-star recruit out of high school, went to Michigan, shows up here at Arizona State, and he is going to be challenging the FIU 4-steal-a-game guy Arturo Dean by the end of today, possibly.
Oh, I don't know about that. To increase from like 2.9 to 3.9 steals at this stage of the year, you might have to get 30 steals. Are you saying he's on pace for 30 right now? Is that what you're saying, Jace?
So if he gets to halftime with 6, which he's on pace for 6 or so,
yeah,
then you could make an argument for like 15, right?
I'm with you. I would love to see that.
Finally, you're with me. Free throw good for Miller.
Took the scenic route, but
no,
we got there.
I appreciate Stanford math. The Harvard of Central New York didn't provide me the same math education. Big win for the Qs today, by the way. Adam Miller is 3 for 4 from the free throw line.
It's still wild to watch the Syracuse game and not see Jim Boeheim on the sideline. They got Red Autry now on the sideline. It's been a nice little uptick, though. They're playing really, really hard, really smart.
Oh, that's a travel. Yeah, Syracuse plays man-to-man.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what to do with themselves.
No Boeheim, no zone. Yeah, it's a total rebuild. Andy Enfield's got to be looking at his stat sheet saying, we already have 10 turnovers, and we're not even, we still got 5 minutes to go in this first half. What is happening right now?
And they're leading. They're leading by 4 because the offense has been very efficient when they've been able to get a shot up.
And that was the case when we saw them at Tucson, and the 19 turnovers against the Wildcats was just too much.
Miller's been shot seeking, couldn't really get it off early in this game. He misses there. USC is 14 for 21 from the floor, make it 22. Neal to Miller. Salabonge couldn't clear the rebound, but he is fouled, and a 1-and-1 coming for Salabonge, who's just a 40% foul shooter.
Adam Miller is always shot ready. And I have a daughter who plays basketball. Her name's Peyton, and I'm always telling her, Peyton, you have to be ready. Hands down, or hands up, butt down. You tell your teammates with your body language and verbally. You can say, ball, I'm open, but you tell your teammates with your eyes and with your stance that you're ready to catch and shoot. And that young man is always ready to catch and shoot, but he's 0 for 4 from 3. So
that gets you the ball more, right? When you're shot ready?
When you're playing and you have a teammate that's basically begging with their eyes and their hands that you want the ball and you don't throw it to them, there's like a little bit of guilt, like, hey, man, my bad.
I'll get you next.
I'll get you next time.
I got you.
Yeah.
Arizona State has shot 9 free throws. USC has not been to the foul line yet today as Salavange goes 2 for 2.
In fact, that is not lost on Andy Enfield right now, but you got to earn those foul shots. USC's got a lot of jumpers so far in this first half.
Perez in the middle of defending. Rodman was calling for a travel. Salavange, great challenge defensively. Neal with a shimmy. He finds Salavange, who missed again close range, but got it back and ties the game.
Wow. I don't know how Salavange ended up with that basketball. There were 3 Trojans, all of which were just as tall as he was.
Another turnover, and Collins called for the offensive foul in a trapeze act.
Oh, he's slow to get up. We hope Frankie's okay. There he goes. He pops up. Oh, to be 22 years old again. How about DJ Rodman, who, by the way, leads this team in charges drawn for the Trojans. Yep, he is outside of the charge circle. That was kind of an easy call. In fact, a dangerous play, though, here for Frankie. He could have really landed, because he landed awkwardly on his side.
I know DJ Rodman has talked about the complicated relationship he had with his dad, Dennis, but that is one of the more Rodman plays. If you port the name to the son and the fathers, there's a foul. No, it's a tie-up. They're going to get a tie-up here. Frank Harvey, the third with the call,
and a technical
foul.
Bobby Hurley was on the floor immediately. Oh.
And now Jose Perez trying to restrain his coach to keep him in the game.
There's Frankie, always the peacemaker. Bobby needs to be careful here, especially after what has transpired after the last 2 games. He's got to be the cool leader. And that right there,
that's a foul.
It's absolutely a foul. Absolutely. But you got to stay calm. Here's the thing, folks. Was that a lot? Like, have you seen coaches do worse things than that? Yes, and yes, answering my own questions. But Bobby Hurley has developed a reputation over the years, and certainly over the last week amongst the officials, that he's got a short fuse. They're watching it, they're paying more attention to it, and the referees don't want this game to get out of hand, and so they have a short whistle with it.
It's complicated, right? Because if you're officiating the moment at hand, which you should be, right? In one vein, you should be officiating what you're seeing and taking it for what it is. However, if you do have a reputation, and coaches know they develop reputations, the officials do have to discuss that and take that into account. Whether you agree or disagree is basically what team's jersey you're wearing.
Agree, and the only instrument or tool, as Frankie Collins misses a 3, the only instrument or tool that the referees have to hold these coaches accountable is a technical foul. Yes. I mean, the warnings don't do anything. You and I both know that. The only thing they can really do to say, hey, enough is enough, is to dole out technical fouls.
But then you end up in a situation where certain coaches feel like they are being unfairly biased against.
And obviously Bobby feels that way. He felt that way after the UCLA. Yep. And Bobby's point was, hey, my players aren't the only ones that are talking trash. Yet it seemed that our players were the only ones that were being held accountable. Again, Bobby Hurley did not get a technical last game against UCLA. No. 4 players did, or excuse me, 3 players got a combined total of 4 technical fouls.
And it was 3 separate players in the Washington game who got the 3 technical fouls as well.
Yeah, so this is the first technical foul that Bobby's had in a while.
And his team has taken the lead 33-32.
And Jason, in one way, it can galvanize this group. I mean, I've been on a team where a coach gets a technical foul. We rally behind him. We play a little bit harder for him because of it. We'll see if that happens to be the case in the final 3.5 minutes of this first half.
Who was the coach you played for at any level who was most likely to get a technical foul?
That's a good one. I played for some even keel coaches. My coach at Stanford was Mike Montgomery, who rarely got a technical foul.
Very professorial.
Yeah, he would wear these penny loafers, and the worst thing he would do is stomp one big foot on the ground, or he'd smack the scores table, but that was it. It was more, I'm thinking of, I played 8 years in Europe,
yeah,
and I had a couple of Serbian coaches, and if you know the Serbian culture and how competitive those guys are, oh yeah, I played with the two coaches that remind me a little bit of Bobby.
Did you enjoy playing for them?
Sure, absolutely. As long as they weren't yelling at me.
Take it out on somebody else.
Seriously.
Tie ball game, entertaining game so
very.
Rodman and Perez, screen from Salabonga. He rolled, he didn't get it. Perez misses, and Rodman tips it to himself. Open floor basketball game for the most part today. That was a near travel for Rodman.
It was almost caused because Frankie Collins denied Bronny James.
James on Salabonga.
He's got the switch. He's got to drive this.
And he did, creating for Rodman. Collins on him. 5 to shoot for USC. Sellers in the corner. USC might have wanted a foul. Late shot clock. Rodman, good awareness. He missed it, though. And we have a foul on the rebounding action on the floor against USC.
This one's going on Kajani Wright, whose arms kind of flailed. It got away from him here. And watch Frankie Collins come in here and challenge right here. Frankie underneath. He's one of the best rebounding point guards in America. And right there, just kind of arms got tangled up. And they get Kajani Wright with the second.
So free throws coming off the rebound. 2 free throws for Frankie Collins, who's a 61% foul shooter.
Yeah, not very good. At 59% foul shooter for his 3-year career, of course, which started at Michigan. You mentioned that. Played for Juwan Howard back in 2021. He was a backup for Devontae Jones, Eli Brooks as well on that team. And that Michigan team, they struggled in the regular season in the Big Ten, but then they made a nice little run in the NCAA tournament. They got to the Sweet 16, and Frankie Collins had one of his best games of the season in the first-round win against Colorado State. He had 14 points. He's got that nice tournament experience.
Mostly a bench player. He started 1 game that year for Juwan Howard. Bronny James serenaded very kindly by the locals.
He is so used to it. I'm sure he doesn't even hear it. It's all just like background noise.
Entry pass, and not a very good one by Wright.
And yeah, you have your other center trying to make an entry pass to a center, and this is kind of what it looks like. That's just a bowling ball, right? That would have been a 7-10 split. And instead, it's another turnover for USC. You got to take one extra dribble to the baseline and deliver that thing.
And I'll tell you what, Iwachukwu does not have bowling shoes on.
Do they make bowling shoes in size 18?
And in lime green. Those I love those.
Yeah, those are the Grinch. Vincent Iwachukwu wearing the Kobe Model 6, the Grinch yellow, the red laces. Grinch green.
Oh boy. That was probably the worst pass of the day.
Really? Off the heels of that last one?
I know, it's a little bit of a challenge as Rodman buries his second 3 of the game, and USC retakes the lead.
All right, if USC is going to get this win on the road, they're going to need a heroic performance from either a guy like DJ Rodman, Kobe Johnson, or maybe an Oziah Sellers. One of those 3 has got to go off.
Perez attack. Salabonga's been nasty on the boards. He's got a 3rd chance and a 4th chance on the possession.
Patting his stats like Moses Malone out there, missing bunnies so he can get some offensive boards, but he's been a wrecking crew down there. He's just not a polished finisher around the basket.
7 points, 8 rebounds for Salabonga, and a 14th turnover for USC. Collins with a pass fake. Perez the save, and Neal finishes. That was a hockey fast break.
The pass from
Jose Perez. Awesome stuff.
Rodman. Oh, somehow that rang out. And Perez, open floor, seeking contact for two. The Arizona State Run Devils have a 5-point lead. And a back tap, and a steal. Collins looking at Perez, instead Miller toward a foul.
Oh, and listen to this crowd at Desert Financial Arena. The appreciation for what they've just seen the last 2 possessions. This Arizona State team has flexed their muscle playing the full 94 feet. And here's the last one. Frankie Collins waiting for the right moment, and how about that? Adam Miller is a left-handed player who went and finished with the right hand, and Bobby Hurley, yeah, that's the focus on your guys, on your players, and how they're performing rather than the refs.
Pretty certain he was thinking something about basketball karma there. Sort of take that look on Bobby's face, and let's be honest. I mean, he's a fantastic coach. They went to the NCAA tournament last year. They lost a couple of guys to transfer this year, kind of a reload for them as Miller misses the free throw. But Arizona State has played very well early in Pac-12 play at 4-2. Bronny James on the drive. He missed it at the rim. The crowd revels in that. 10 seconds to go. Half number 1. Neal really wanted a 3. He was actually disappointed he didn't take it. Collins is happy to shoot, and he just missed at the horn. But Arizona State on a late surge has taken a 7-point lead at the break, and Andy Enfield, having shot 4 free throws to Arizona State's 15, has a word or two.
None of the coaches are happy with the officiating, no matter what happens out here. But Andy Enfield's got to be happy when they've been able to get shots. This team has performed well, but Arizona State's defense was the story in the first 20 minutes.
To lead by 7, Donnie Marshall, Rob Stone in the studio after we take this timeout from Tempe. Sponsored by Progressive. Gets slam dunk savings today, and quite a few of those slam dunks off of turnovers. USC 15 turnovers. That's tied for the most in a half for a power conference team all year long.
Wow.
And we are into late January, and so with that, Casey, Jason along with you. If you're USC and you somehow want to come back in a game that you've led for the bulk of, how do you do that?
Yeah, not only led, but they shot 54%, right? So the #1 question that I had coming into this game, Jason, was can USC's backcourt, being shorthanded, handle the defensive pressure? And we got our answer in the first 20 minutes. That answer was no. 15 turnovers is a ridiculously high number. It allowed Arizona State to play in the open floor. So how do you address that? We actually asked Andy Enfield about it. He said we have to be better at ball faking to then making a pass, playing off 2 feet, and also just being aware of where Frankie Collins is. Do not play around with the basketball when he is nearby. Might have been a double dribble.
It could have been. 6 steals, 2 off his career high, which is also the school record, Frankie Collins. He wanted one there. Instead, Johnson missed at the rim. Iwachukwu tried to stuff it, and his second chance is good over Gaffney.
His best Celebonge impersonation. Celebonge had 8 rebounds, I think 8 offensive rebounds in the first half because he kept missing a bunch of layups. 9 offensive.
He just added another one. That's how well he's done at the offensive glass thing. There's Jose Perez in the lane. He lost it on the way up.
And who'd he lose it to? Kobe Johnson, who really hasn't made the defensive impact, not even close, that Frankie Collins has made. And these are, to me, the 2 best Pac-12 perimeter defenders you will watch this season.
Just turnover number 6 for Arizona State. Iwachukwu doesn't know whether or not he's supposed to screen. Bronny James kills the dribble. Johnson tees up a 3. That's too strong. And it's out of bounds to USC.
That was the right read for Bronny James off that ball screen. However, that pass was way high, right? And these little things matter for a USC team that's lacking the scoring punch that they have. They got to be tighter in those little details. The stuff adds up.
Where does being cavalier in terms of passing accuracy show up most?
Well, in pick and roll, because you're reading the defense, and you have to whip a pattern. Nice drive there by Bronny to kind of make the adjustment. They're really pressuring him, get to the rim. But in ball handling, in ball screen situation, Jason, you're reading the secondary defenders, right? And oftentimes what is open is that skip pass to the corner or to the wing. And you can't just whip it around like you're Steph Curry. Deliver it on time and on target.
Miller has very little conscience in terms of length of three. That one's short, and here's off the inbound.
Tight curl, and Frankie Collins is overplaying. And they, ASU is inviting Bronny James to shoot at the rim. No open jumpers for him.
He's got 7 so far. He had just 2 points in the prior 3 games before his 11 outbursts the other night. And that is 10 seconds because of Gaffney.
Yeah, and Bronny, too, deserves some blame here. He knows he's playing around with the basketball too much. Just go by him. Watch this. Why are you going between the legs here? Why are you going to do it again? Just dribble past him.
But give Gaffney some credit. It's easy for me to say I got a suit and a vest over here, and I'm not having to go against 6'9" length of Gaffney.
I do like the vest, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I wanted to split the 7s that the dealer gave me earlier. Arizona State by 3. Thank you for laughing, because it would have been very uncomfortable if you were offended by that.
No, I do not take myself that seriously.
Frankie Collins, long range for 3.
If Frankie Collins is hitting that shot, Jason, then USC might as well start the bus. I'm serious. Like, you won't be able to guard him if he's hitting that.
You want a double down on that?
Stop. Oh, man.
Collins again, full attack mode, through Sellers, missed it.
He's getting a little greedy there. I mean, you could say he's earned that shot right there, but
that's an early 3 try for Bronny James. Neal lost it on the way up. Gaffney was barely across half court as Neal lost that out of bounds, and Arizona State's going to keep it.
Gaffney's walking slowly. I'm not sure if he's injured or not, or just kind of puffing and puffing. Arizona State not a big team. And Gaffney's your center at 6'9", 200 pounds, and a shooter.
More than a second 3. Collins clears the rebound. Left side through and scores. More pressure from Arizona State. Iwachukwu back behind. Could not corral it.
That was an easy dunk. Just one dribble to the rim, and right now it seems like USC is just off.
Gaffney rings it off the leg of USC and Bronny James.
The crowd here at DFA has been awesome, by the way, and how fun it's been for these Sun Devils. And another beautiful defensive effort from Gaffney, who's made his presence felt on that end of the floor in the first early minutes of the second half.
And the length is so apparent. Collins catch and shoot. It's another 3 for the spark plug for Arizona State. He's got 8 in the second half, and a timeout USC.
I was wondering before the season started, Jason, who was going to be the star of this team? And we are in middle of January. It is crystal clear. Frankie Collins is leading the way for the 4-2 Sun Devils in the Pac-12.
California, and by the way, from football to baseball at basketball, Alec Thomas, the outfielder, great outfielder for the Diamondbacks, tremendous speed, change of direction, a little bit like Frankie Collins.
That's a nice compliment to him. Look at those numbers. Like box score, stat sheet stuffer. Are you asking me baseball questions right now, Jason Benetti?
No, I wouldn't dare do that. I do have a hockey question, though. The Coyotes are playing later. We had to get all 4 major sports in one promo.
I know you're a baseball guy. Baseball's like the one sport that I can't follow. I don't have enough brain, like, just, what do you call it, hardware?
That's another 10-second call. That pass wasn't completed until the 20-second mark. If you're USC and Andy Enfield, you're thinking that's a pretty delayed whistle.
Yeah, the referee was adamant that they got it right. They had their eyes on that shot clock, which is just located right above the basket, both baskets.
The ball has to successfully advance across midcourt before that 20 hits, and it did not in that situation.
Correct. And another one for Frank.
He has all 8 in the second half for Arizona State.
And he had not had success against USC coming in. Frankie Collins, his previous 3 games against the Trojans, just 6 points per game. And he's more than double that today, and we got a whole 16 minutes left of this.
Kobe Johnson, they went under, and he misses the jumper. Offensive rebound, foul, and 2 shots coming for USC and right. I asked you the baseball question. Baseball does not have really a time limit. Extra innings and all that. Then we had a 10-second call. Spring training just a couple of months away. Beautiful day in the desert Southwest here in Tempe. 51-40 Sun Devils the lead. The band is playing I'm a Believer right now, and you have to believe in Colorado with a victory in Boulder. First conference loss for the Oregon Ducks. You were there.
Colorado
looked real good.
Yep.
Lost for Arizona a couple of times on the road. Stanford, Washington State, USC, and UCLA. A rare time. It's been 36 years since they've had this level of losing through 18 games, but go figure in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
How this ends up in Las Vegas is totally up in the air.
Which makes it fun. I still think the Arizona Wildcats are kind of a cut above. The most surprising loss by far in the Pac-12 conference race so has been Arizona getting beat by 20 points at Stanford. Stanford hit a school record 16 threes and dropped 100 points on what I believe to be a much improved defensive team by Arizona. But just goes to show you on a night in, night out basis, you get the 3-ball going and you can beat any team in the country.
I don't want you to get a big head about what's going on with Stanford with that win there like that right there. Don't get a big head about Stanford.
I can't get a big head about Stanford because it's been humbling. Stanford has made 1 NCAA tournament in the last 15 years, and that hurts my
You didn't
heart.
have to go deeper on it. I wasn't trying to create you pain. I was just, Mitch Reagan showed me the picture. I had to play along with it.
Yeah, throw Mitch under the bus.
Oh no, one of the best directors you'll ever find. Frankie Collins with a lob, and that's tough catch.
And a rare mistake, by the way, by Frankie. That was a terrible post-entry pass, a bad angle and bad execution. And you rarely see him do that.
But they do set up the pressure. It's a long pass for Rice. Can he track it down? He does, away from Collins. And his cross-lane feed leads to a foul and 2 free throws for Morgan coming up.
A smart foul, by the way, from Alonzo Gaffney. Do not allow USC to get a rhythm, and watch this here. And, you know, Arizona State, this is still good defense. You force a long pass, and then, yes, you wrap up that arm. Do not let Joshua Morgan get an and one here. Not a good free throw shooter.
The only problem, I agree with you in a vacuum, it is the right play to foul there. Gaffney, though, is the first guy with 3 fouls. So that being his 3rd changes the calculus a little bit.
It's a good point, but you still, like, is he smart enough to stay in the ball game with 3 fouls?
Yep.
This is a critical time. I know we have a lot of basketball left. I feel like this next 5 minutes are critical for USC to find some sort of rhythm here. Just 3 for 10 shooting. And they haven't really been able to disrupt Arizona State offensively, at least consistently.
Miller to Phillips down low, and 2 free throws. Yeah, to your point, Casey, though, we saw it the other night in Tucson. USC hung around but never made that run.
Yeah, but you know, Arizona Wildcats will do that. They'll hold you at arm's length. They'll let you get in close, but then you poke them, and then they start to kick it into high gear, right? Arizona has a gear that very few teams have. And if we get a look at Sean Phillips at the line, has one of the most unique ball rotation free throws I have ever seen. He shoots it, and the ball spins sideways. You watch here, and it comes off his hands almost like he flicks like a spin on it. Never seen that before.
They're going to wave that off because of a lane violation. And it's interesting you point that out on a ball that rimmed out on him.
Look at that. Look at that sideways rotation. And it goes in, right? So, heck, maybe it invented a better way to shoot for all I know.
Do you think that's true?
No, I don't think that's true. But it went in.
It was wild to look at.
I'm not even sure how he got there. It's actually kind of hard to do, to go to the line and make it spin that way.
Phillips to close out on Sellers. Rebound for Rodman, sky high, and he does pull it away.
They got to figure out a way to scrap, claw, get extra possessions.
Wright wanted the contact, and he missed the shot. It is out of bounds, and it will stay with USC. We've gone quiet offensively.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep going back to this, but I have to. If Isaiah Collier and Boogie Ellis is out here, there's just easier shots. Those guys create gravity, so not only are they making shots, but they make the job of all the other role players that much easier. And you're just seeing USC, they don't have a lot of options. They're looking around, and sometimes their best offensive option is a missed shot where everybody crashes the boards. They really miss Boogie, man. Or the Boogie, man. That was accidental. Yeah.
You can tell you have
defenses should definitely beware of the boogeyman in college basketball because Boogie Ellis.
That was a soft landing.
Appreciate it.
19 turnovers, by the way, for USC with 14 and change to go.
You can tip your dealer after this game.
Insurance is open. Miller lost his feet, somehow got it away for Neal off the deflection. That's a really tough pass in tight quarters. Rodman taking his way to the rim. He kind of took off early, but the follow's there for Morgan.
Again, attacking the rim. And even though USC has not been able to really convert at a high rate, they are bigger and stronger, at least it seems to me, than this current ASU roster they have on the floor right now.
Zone shown by USC a bit. Neal flashing to the foul line. It is Gaffney, and it is three.
Well, 60% of Alonzo Gaffney's total shots are threes. That's what he wants.
2 and a foul for Wright streaking to the rim.
USC finding a little bit of rhythm. They're breaking the press. 2 passes, the ball barely hits the floor but one time, and kind of a bad foul there by Sean Phillips. So you've got to concede that basket. Sometimes when you're completely out of defensive position, the best thing to do is just say, all right, hey, tip our cap, we'll inbound it. Instead, you get a man one.
Well, you see there, as the curtain of distraction is in play, and we'll see what they have in store. You see the difference between the foul by Gaffney and the foul by Phillips.
Right? One was a wrap-up, the other one was a touch foul.
There's some karate kicks going on.
I love surprises. I love the curtain of distraction. I'm glad they didn't have it when I played here.
Would you have been like, you're such a curious person, you'd have been like, wow, what a cool thing that is.
One time they had Michael Phelps in a Speedo and all of his medals and stuff. Like, if they had Michael Phelps there, I probably would have bricked it. Yes.
Would you have run up and asked for his autograph?
No.
Here's Neal. That's a really tough shot.
Really tough, and if you're USC, you're fine with that, right? Contested, fadeaway, 2-pointer, but obviously Neal is good enough to make that. But those aren't the shots that beat you, right? The turnovers that lead to Frankie Collins, layups beat you. This one right here, this is good defense, better offense, even really good late contest there by Sellers. And my goodness, he was all the way reclined on that one. That's nasty.
Frankie Collins back in, by the way. Miller takes his seat. 6 steals in the first half for Frankie Collins.
Just too shy of the school record, which he holds.
Rodman somehow got a shot up. They're going to wave that off, though, and say it was a foul on the floor. Rodman said, well, I put it on the glass. So what are we doing here?
Well, you put it on the glass in the splits position. Watch it, super awkward. Goes down to the ground and just hucks one up. No way are you going to get that as a shooting foul. I appreciate the effort, though, DJ.
Now, if he got this off a little quicker, I would say it is a shooting foul.
But
there was a turn until, left hand red and then right foot blue.
Twister.
Thank you. Thanks for playing. Johnson into the lane for two.
Jason, they call that a hostage dribble when a guard gets a step on their defender and then keeps them on their back, almost holds them hostage, and that allowed Kobe Johnson just that easy finger roll layup. USC is in desperate need for Kobe Johnson to step forward.
Those were his first points of the second half. He had 7 in the first pretty early. Perez banging into Rodman. That is not a great shot.
Robbie Hummel calls that booty ball.
Yeah.
And Jose Perez loves to play booty ball. He's so big and got great touch. It didn't work out that time.
That's all Jalen Pickett's fault. There's 4 in a row for Kobe Johnson. Starting to smolder a little bit. And a timeout, Bobby Hurley.
I called him out. I do not assume that Kobe Johnson was listening to me. He already knows the role that he plays, especially no Boogie, no Isaiah. Who's the third best player on USC's roster? It's number 0, Kobe Johnson. More of that when we go back.
The site of the Final Four National Championship just down the road a piece in Glendale, the home of the Cardinals, and the trophy is here today. Trophy is here just in case a title game breaks out and we can award it.
Oh, man. I've never been that close to the NCAA championship trophy before. It was like 10 feet away from us.
We were in the Elite Eight, right?
Well, in the Elite Eight, never got to a Final Four. Man, is it hard. And the Pac-12 has had a hard time getting there. Last Pac-12 team to do it, 2021, the UCLA Bruins with Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell. And before that, 2017, the Oregon Ducks with Dylan Brooks leading the charge. Arizona certainly will have a big-time opportunity to play in their home state. Yeah.
I should mention the Fiesta Bowl also down the road here. I don't want anybody on the Fiesta Bowl media committee to get frustrated with me. Wouldn't be good for business. 5 to shoot. Long jumper Neal. No good. Salabange off the tip and a rebound for USC, which has 4 in a row to a 5-point game.
And their momentum has been gathered on the defensive end. They are forcing the Sun Devils to take long contested J's.
Kobe Johnson sized it up. No good. Offensive rebound for 2 and Morgan.
And so Adam Miller switched that ball screen with Kobe Johnson, so he was left against Joshua Morgan, and that's just a losing proposition. It's not really Adam Miller's fault there. He's got to have help.
USC's out rebounding Arizona State by 10.
And that's kind of normal. I think Bobby Hurley kind of plans to be out rebounded in most games they play. They have to make it up for it in other areas like this.
That was a tremendous job by Perez, who was sizing that up the whole way to draw the foul.
Yeah, watch him. I call it booty ball, right? He loves, there's the hostage dribble, and now it becomes kind of booty ball. So I know this wasn't a post-up, but one of the most interesting stats that you'll find on Jose Perez is ASU, as a team, has only posted up 75 total possessions on the season, and Jose Perez has 51 of those 75 post-ups. So it's clear that they go to this guy for if they need one of those mid-range post-up creative moves. That's his game.
He came here and was going to go to Ole Miss for a visit. He canceled the visit because he fell in love with what Bobby Hurley does here. And they are happy to have him with 14 points today. Johnson got by Miller, soaring in. No whistle and a rebound and a hook pass for Miller. Up ahead, Collins. And Perez to finish.
Superb play, which started with Adam Miller and his outlet pass.
How good has Arizona State been in transition today?
Devastating. I mean, they to me, the best transition team. Oh, that was man, Kobe Johnson helped him right in the face.
They might look at that during the break. Iwachukwu, 2 and a foul. USC within 6.
Oh, look at Jose Perez needs to be careful here. He went right at the referee. And he did get elbowed in the face. Frankie Collins is asking him to review it, but the way that Jose Perez went to the official, he needs to be careful here. Watch the elbow right to the chin. Absolutely. That's going to be a flagrant.
Yep.
There's no question about it. But watch Jose Perez as this possession keeps going. By the way, nice finish from Iwachukwu. And Jose Perez goes right to the official, right up to him.
Yep.
He's got to be careful there, especially what happened to this Arizona State team against UCLA. Yeah. I mean, it's not an egregious one, but it's not a basketball play, right?
That's what I was just going to say to you. It is no way in the flow of a basketball play, which typically is the indicator that you're looking for a flagrant one.
No question. I've been wrong many a times on these. I'm willing to admit that, but this one seems very easy. This is one of the easiest ones I've seen.
When you see a rip through as somebody's driving the lane, that's one thing, but this is specifically to ward off a defender, which has nothing to do with an offensive maneuver.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, sometimes as a defensive player, you'll stick your nose right into the
cylinder.
Into their personal space, which is also called the cylinder, if we're talking about referee jargon. But this was not an example of that. Frankie Collins was behind Kobe Johnson, and then right here, he knows exactly where Frankie is.
He felt him first.
He felt him
through the elbow. Yep. And that's not to say either of us think it's a dirty play in any way, but by definition, this is typically an F1.
Yes. And it's also a good distinction there. Kobe Johnson, not a dirty player. I've played this game many times, Jason, and I have done whatever I can to create space. Push off, elbow. It just happened to be a little bit too high.
Is it instinctual for you?
Yeah, get off me, right? Your mind is telling your body, get this defender off me in any way that I can. And yeah, so I don't blame Kobe here. But he is going to get a flagrant one here. I'll be shocked if it's anything else. They're going to come over and tell us.
Casey will figure it out. But with that long discussion, you figure they're going to work on who has the ball. It's going to be free throws first for USC regardless. A free throw on the make by Iwachukwu. It'll be a three-point play opportunity. But what did Tommy tell you?
Yeah, so it is going to be a flagrant one on Kobe Johnson. So we'll first start with the foul shot for USC. Then they'll do 2 foul shots at the other end, and then they'll come back and we'll play on after that.
And it'll be Arizona State ball after that.
It'll be Arizona State basketball after that, yes.
So that foul, the F1 on Kobe Johnson, will be his 3rd personal as well. 9:46 left here in the second half, and it is the right call. And again, but to your point, right? You're a basketball player. You learn to defend yourself, and that's why there's teaching by everybody, and Chris Rastatter and the entire crew of officiating folks to legislate it out of the game and teach players that that's no longer acceptable.
Correct. We've evolved as human beings, right? And we've also evolved and been a lot more sensitive to head and neck area. If, for example, if Kobe Johnson elbowed Frankie Collins in the ribs, probably nothing happens.
That's right.
But because it was in the head neck area, we look at it and it's a flagrant one.
And for good reason.
Yes, it should be.
Because we've seen research in other sports especially to signal that that's something you want to protect. But it's not as though the players are blind to it either. This has been a rule for a while. So
that was a long break, Jason, by the way.
It was.
Fresh legs for everybody now.
And now a word from our sponsor. Arizona State by 6. So a make for each team. Collins went 1 for 2.
Right, 2-3 zone, which we've seen a lot of from USC, but it's got to be more active. Bronny, especially Kobe Johnson, hands up, trying to deflect passes.
Those hands are down for both guards, and so Miller shoots over it. Exactly your point, Casey.
Look, regardless of what defense you're playing, man or zone, I don't have a preference. It doesn't matter to me. Andy Infield's calling it, but regardless, USC was flat-footed. They weren't talking. They weren't loud, and those shots are going to go in for ASU.
You can be aggressive within a zone.
Yes, absolutely. The best zones have man-to-man principles and are aggressive.
Well, that's a foul on Miller somehow, trying to fight through a screen.
Watch everybody just standing. Nobody has their hands up. No one's pointing, really. And here, a simple ball screen, and Kobe Johnson gets caught on it. He goes underneath. I mean, that is poor defensive effort for the Trojans. And Kobe Johnson, one of the better man-to-man defenders, he's got to be better than that.
Yes, Miller was 0 for 5 from 3. Is this going to be a 1-and-1? It was his first made 3 of the game, but he is one of the best three-point shooters on this team.
Yeah, and he's got a shooter's mentality.
Yes. Like all day.
He has a short memory, right? All the cliches. Short memory, be a goldfish if you're a Ted Lasso fan, right? Just forget about what you did in the first half. Adam Miller is a gunner. That is how he plays.
What do you think is behind the curtain? Do you have a guess at maybe one item back there?
Godzilla.
You think Godzilla?
In a bikini.
Okay, let's see how close is Casey with his guess. You know what? We have a green bodysuit. I think you get the point for that.
Oh, no way.
What in the world? Did you know that was I mean, it's not exactly Godzilla, but it's close enough, dude.
I don't know why I thought of it.
Okay, what's next now?
No, they can't. Do they have like quick change? No. It's going to be the same guy. Maybe with a... the green guy is going to either put on a hat or put on a mask.
Okay, let's see. This is America's fastest growing sensation. The guess is what's behind the curtain.
No, same.
No hat.
No. Same move, too.
How about that? We got a bear, we got a dancing bear, and a green bodysuit. So next time, can't wait for free throws. We'll check again. 7 for Arizona State. Collins, one leg floater won't go, and the rebound Iwachukwu.
See USC push this. Obviously, Arizona State back in transition, but a lot of teams have a secondary break. They get into something quickly once the defense kind of sets up.
Ronnie James getting into the lane, bouncing for Johnson, who created contact and 2 points. Arizona State is bogged down in the half-court now.
Yep, and this is exactly what Bobby Hurley does not want. Arizona State has struggled all season. I believe they're 41% from the field in half-court situations. It's one of the lowest in the Pac-12.
There's not a lot of energy being expended either. Perez, though, finds his way to the rim out of that.
Man, just a straight line drive. No resistance at all. It's not even like he made a dribble spin move or anything. Directly to the basket for one of the better and stronger finishes in a white uniform.
Out of a standing dribble, too. There wasn't much action going forward. Wright got hugged. Salabonge pinned it, and it's going to be a tie-up. It's Arizona State basketball. Wright wanted the foul there, and he might have an argument.
Yeah, he might. We'll look at that maybe during the break. But Bronny James getting in the lane, a nice drop-off pass, and look at the body control. But Arizona State has had the answer. And that Jose Perez straight line drive. Where's the D?
Austin.
As many sousaphones as you're going to see in one play.
Oh, man, I'm fired up about it, too. Yeah, the base is awesome.
We see some muscle there, and we saw what looked like maybe some muscle here.
This is a missed call. This was called a tie-up, a jump ball. But Kajani Wright lost the ball before he goes up. But here's the thing. Salabonge is looking at the referee like, what'd you call here? That could have been a body bump, could have been a foul on Arizona State. Instead, they call a tie-up. The ball, the possession arrow goes to Arizona State. So they're going to get the ball here. It's kind of a weird play, though. I think the referees anticipated something that just didn't happen. Well, that guy's kind of jacked.
And knows it.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, like if you got it, flaunt it.
This has been a great crowd here today, by the way. Second largest student crowd that they've had here
ever. It's awesome, man. It broke, the record is last year against UCLA, and that makes sense. The Jaime Jaquez, Tiger Campbell version of the Bruins that won the conference last year.
They love to start time, I think. Noon local today. Perez in the lane again. He's got 2 more, and he has been filthy in the second half. He's got 20 total.
Plays at his own speed, knows exactly what he wants to do. He's not a burner, meaning he's not just going to blow by guys. He's going to take his time and use his big body.
Another off-the-ball foul.
Gregory Nixon just called that foul from across the lane on the other sideline.
And Perez in the middle, zone or man. This is a matchup that Bobby Hurley would love to exploit. Now, DJ Robbins not small, he's not short, he's strong, but Jose Perez just knows how to operate, right? Just easy, and he works on them shots. This isn't like, you know, he's not making stuff up. When he warms up, when he practices a ton of mid-range, spin, taking contact, and hit.
Big miss for Kobe Johnson, front end of a 1-and-1. That is Jalen Pickett all over again. Jose Perez.
Old man Pick, yeah. If you don't know who that is, that was a fifth-year senior for Penn State last year, one of the stat sheet stuffers in the Big Ten. And yeah, it wasn't speedy by any means, but got wherever he wanted on the field.
No, when he backed in, it beeped like a truck. Perez misses this time.
Still a good shot for him.
Who will score for USC? Kobe Johnson taking matters into his own hand. Ronnie James lost the ball again. Transition for the Sun Devils. Layup for Neal.
Yeah, Bronny's hesitation cost him there. And I mentioned he's just 1 for his last 15 from 3 coming into this game. He is not a confident jump shooter right now, and Arizona State kind of knows that. They short close out on him. They steal it, and they go the other way. This game, the difference between these two teams is one is getting after it on the defensive end, and then they're just getting out and scoring off those, whereas USC's having to manufacture every little thing on the offensive end.
Casey, it's 21 turnovers, 22 points off of the turnovers. And Arizona State, the reason they are leading this game in large part is a run their defense created, 8-0, to close the first half.
Yeah, their close to the first half was just electric. This building was standing up, and it's how they want to play. It's the strength of this group. And here's the thing, you see those numbers. A season high, you go on the road anywhere, and you commit a season high in turnovers, it is very unlikely that you will win. But for Arizona State, they have not shot the ball like overall very well. 42%. They still have a double-digit lead at home because they know exactly where their bread is buttered, which is playing in the passing, is being overly aggressive and forcing the officials to make foul calls.
Let me ask you about USC, though. You lose those two guys your offense is centered around. How do you adjust midstream in a basketball season and figure out your next offense?
Oh, you can't really. Bronny James is not a natural point guard. They're asking him to do a lot. Nice high-low pass there.
Oh, boy. Iwuchukwu stuffed by the rim.
And I look at Andy Enfield right now, and we drew up that play out of a timeout, and you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? And so even right now when they're executing, they're still not even finishing. But like to your point, you don't recover from Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier being out for an extended period of time.
Miller. No, he knew that was going to fade on him. You just kind of grind, right?
You grind, you allow Bronny James to make some mistakes and learn from them. This guy, Oziah Sellers, you allow him to make some mistakes too. And then you hope Kobe Johnson turns superhuman on the road. And so far, he has not been able to do that.
He's got 13 points, but it's not enough right now. We're ticking down to 5 minutes as Arizona State tries to get to 5-2 in the Pac-12. Nice wins in the non-conference for them, including an SMU victory as that jumper goes, and 2 more for Arizona State and Neal. It's their largest lead.
USC looks confused on what play they're running right now. Probably should start with that. What play, so we're all on the same page here.
It's a Sellers jumper that falls.
And USC is going to have to get out of their 2-3 zone. It's just not active enough. And they're running out of time here. So either they need to make some adjustments and start trapping out of this zone, or they need to get out of it completely.
Do they have the horses to be aggressive defensively?
Absolutely. They still, hey, even though they don't have like some big-time scorers on the floor, they got some fantastic athletes.
Gaffney. Yes.
And not if they can't get any stops, though. Every time I watch Alonzo Gaffney, he's the longest player in the Pac-12, right? Like, his arms stretch almost sideline to sideline.
Frankie Collins nearly had another steal, and now they do. Miller plucks it, 3-on-2. Collins swooping in and scoring. And fighting gravity on the way through.
Oh, superb finishing. We saw Kobe Johnson have a similar finish for USC a few minutes ago, but Frankie Collins is small. I believe he's the shortest player on the floor right now at 6'1". He's got some bounce, though. That hang time, impressive.
It kind of looks like that yellow light on the dash has popped on for USC.
Yeah. Engine smoking a little bit. And Frankie Collins in the open floor. Is there a guard better at either scoring or dishing to his teammates? This time he takes it for himself, and Arizona State has opened up its largest lead of the game.
Arizona State by 15 at home. The bright blue sky of the desert Southwest, and we wouldn't dare do anything that you could call weather shaming on this telecast. We wouldn't do that ever. Jordan Love and the Packers in rainy San Francisco Levi's Stadium in Northern California. The NFC divisional round tonight, 7:30 Eastern time, only on Fox.
Probably better weather than Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I would say.
It's been a tough week in the Midwest.
It's been a tough. I see on Twitter or X, whatever you call that thing, and there's just snow blizzards everywhere.
You got to guess what's coming up. Oh,
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters.
Wonderful, right on time. Free throw, no good.
Yeah, it worked. You know, growing up playing a bunch of other sports, baseball, soccer, and basketball, I loved that weather is not a factor in basketball. Like, it's consistent, right? It's such a big deal. I really would hate to be cold while playing basketball or shooting a three and have to worry about the wind gust. But that wouldn't be cool.
Felt like they had that Iowa game with Caitlin Clark. Great pass from Collins. And a three stuck by Gaffney. Frankie Collins has been the igniter once more for Arizona State.
It seems like every decision he's made has been the right one.
7 assists for Frankie Collins, and that should be one as well. He tipped it ahead. Neal, showtime. Timeout USC.
Well, after a frustrating week for the Arizona State Sun Devils, 7 technicals combined in their previous 2 games. Bobby Hurley frustrated in the post-game press conference, and his group has taken out their frustrations on their opponent. They've kept it about basketball, and this is one of the best performances, if not the best performance from them all season, albeit against a shorthanded USC team. But you got to play whoever's in front of you.
Yeah, and we saw against UCLA, they didn't close against a team that is down in the lower rung of the standings of the Pac-12. 17-2 run in part pushed forward by Frankie Collins.
Yeah, he's been the star of the team, and Arizona State, interestingly, was the only team in the Pac-12 that didn't have a player named to the preseason all-conference team. First team, second team, or even honorable mention. And Frankie Collins, if the season ended today, would no doubt be a first-team performer, and this game is just another evidence of him. He's been the igniter, he's been the defensive stalwart, and he's been a finisher at the basket. And Arizona State head coach Bobby Hurley was one of the best point guards that college basketball has ever seen, and his best teams have always had good point guards like Frankie Collins and Remy Martin, Trey Holder, Lou Dort, a bunch.
He's one of 3 guys with 13, 5, 3, and 2, just filling up the stat sheet. And I do go back to, and you know, you talked about the team sort of following emotionally with Bobby Hurley and needing to tighten that up. Give credit where it's due. If you're watching this game, Bobby Hurley told his team, react to nothing. Do not talk to the officials. And you go back to the Jemiah Neal reaction very early in the game when he sort of regenerated a response while he was in mid-complain. And that's what coaching is to a T. Yes, maybe the emotion ran high last game, and it certainly did the last 2 games. But when you see that type of correction, that's coaching as well.
Make it about basketball. Now, Bobby Hurley did get a technical in this game.
He did.
But he did tell his guys, let me be the one to communicate with the officials whether that be in good ways or in bad ways. Bobby's like, I don't want you guys to be involved. No more technicals for the rest of the year. And, yeah, those rules don't apply to the coach.
Well, but he'd rather be the one doing it.
Yes.
When the players then have to deal with the next possession, he can stew on the bench all he wants, and it's not going to affect whether a shot goes in.
I get that, but then, you know, the other side, if I'm going to play Sun Devil advocate like you did in the first half, you're the leader, the face of your program. And if you are getting technicals and screaming at the referees, then your players sometimes feel like they are just fine to do the same. They're copying your behavior. There's a little, you can see it both sides there. I've been impressed. When this Sun Devils team makes it about basketball and makes it about defense, they're going to win those types of games. When they make it about everything else, they're going to struggle.
I agree with you on that full picture as well of what coaching means. This is Page, and that's good for 2.
Another big body athlete, man. Andy Info just every year reloads with massive dudes. Brenton Page was teammates with Isaiah Collier, Georgia. They knew each other well.
50 recruit out of high school. They won a state title there.
Oh, they better, Jason. Got Isaiah Collier and Page. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they're tough ticket at Wheeler games back then. Lead is 17 for Arizona State. They're going to make the tour of Oregon coming up this week. They're Thursday in Eugene as Iwachukwu finishes. Boy, he's impressive in stretches.
Yeah, that's the key. Andy Enfield knows that too. Like, hey, if you take snippets of Iwachukwu and you're like blown away, he can't do it for a full 40. I mean, he only plays about half a game. He can't even do it for 20 minutes of his playing time yet. Give him another year. Keep an eye on him.
He does only play about 15 minutes a game, as you said, as USC gets a run out here. Bronny James says that one lip off. And the crowd feels like they got a little bit more bang for their buck in minute 40.
Tough one for Bronny today.
And he hears it everywhere he goes. We've seen it all the way throughout the state of Arizona this week. Arizona State just too much defensively as we get a timeout for substitutions. Where are you on the overrated chant, Casey?
It's way too elementary. I like creativity.
Yeah.
Right? Come up with something better, a little bit more unique. I've heard that chant many times in my life.
People chant it overrated at you?
4,325 students. They can't get together and come up with a better chant than overrated? I don't know.
You know, Bronny's look on his face there is like, this is a long game we're playing, right? He knows he's going to have some up and down games, but he's seen it with his father, who has had all the slings and arrows of public attention, and how he's handled it has always been fantastic and something to model yourself after. And that look for Bronny James really says it all. Like, you know what? Heard it all before. That said, hey, he's a great student,
he's going to be a nice player. There's been a lot of pressure put on him by his dad as well, to me unnecessarily, but they can do whatever they want. But Bronny James, to me, is not an NBA player right now. Could become one. I could see it.
Time winding down. We'll see if one more shot goes up in this Arizona State victory. Final score, 82-67 for the Sun Devils, who do bounce back from that tough loss, their first home loss to UCLA. And they had lost 7 straight in the regular season against USC, even though they knocked them out in the quarterfinals of the Pac-12 tournament last year. Casey, your final thoughts?
Bobby Hurley has to be really pleased with his players' basketball response. It wasn't a verbal response. It was a basketball response today after what happened, dropping a game they had late in the second half against UCLA. And after the first 10 minutes, it was bumpy for Arizona State, but they quickly grabbed the reins of this game on the defensive end, and they never looked back.
Casey, always a pleasure. We say farewell from Tempe, 82-67. Your final score for our producer, Eric Billigmeyer, our director, Mitch Riggin, for Casey Jacobson, our entire wonderful crew. I'm Jason Benetti. Arizona State by 15 with win number 5 in Pac-12 play.